leader. I've got a treat for you today because I'm featuring one of my clients who started out as a project supervisor, complete with a pickup truck and work boots for a national home builder, then began as a solo entrepreneur with a 2-room design studio. She now has a team of 10 and is in the midst of more hiring. And they're moving into her newly designed 5,000 square foot design studio, complete with all the extras that will fuel their fire as creatives in their workspace. I mean, after all, she's in the business of beautiful spaces, and she's here to tell us the truth about what it takes to scale your business, your team, and your approach to leadership along the way. If you're ready to hear the truth about what it takes to grow your business, your reputation, your team, and your legacy, you are going to love learning from Rose. And this episode is powered by the Leadership Lab, my high-touch small group coaching program for women who own an established business with a team of 5 or more and who want to get out of the day-to-day operations so they can focus more on business development. So if you own a firm, agency, studio, clinic, spa, shop, private practice, a center, an academy, or collective, either brick and mortar or online service-based business, you're invited to seriously consider joining the Leadership Lab. Every member owns an established business, and if you're wondering, this is not a course. It's time to get out of the daily operations, breathe deeper, and build a team you trust who are capable of delivering what your clients expect. That's where Rose and I met, including in person as she traveled to Canada to join us at our annual Leadership Lab retreat. She's a delight. So is her team, and she's going to be the next person you follow on Instagram or LinkedIn. I just know it. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. I'm Shelli Warren, your team and leadership coach, and your no-fluff guide to building a powerhouse team that actually gets the job done without you holding their hand every 5 minutes. You're not just a business owner, you're the leader now, and I'll help you step up, lead smart, and stop micromanaging. Stick with me and you'll learn how to hire, fire, and inspire a team you lead with confidence and finally get your night and weekends back. And here's the hard truth. The team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So let's trade burnout for bold leadership and stack your team. I love having a podcast so that I can feature my clients. It's also so fun to share them with you so that you can be inspired, maybe get a gentle nudge, or even a swift wake-up call with their open and honest storytelling about real-life experiences as women who own businesses and who are stepping into their leadership in a whole new way. Today, you'll meet Rose Zefferino. She's the founder and principal of Domus Designs, an award-winning interior design firm with over 20 years of experience specializing in high-end new construction, renovations, and full-service finishing. She's the founder and principal of Domus Designs, an award-winning interior design firm with over 20 years of experience specializing in high-end new construction, renovations, and full-service finishings. Rose's deep understanding of construction was built early in her career, working directly on job sites, managing residential builds, and collaborating with trades. Today, she guides builders and homeowners through complex projects with ease. Based on the main line in Pennsylvania, her firm is known for its comfortably luxe aesthetic, seamless client experiences, and concierge-level move-in ready results. She says, I believe in setting a high bar, but being available to coach, guide, and walk alongside my team as they learn how to meet it. And before you meet Rose, I want to give a shout out to Leah. She is a senior designer, team leader, and she's the driving force behind the furnishings department at Domus Designs. I've been able to support Leah through the team leader program, and I can tell you, she's dedicated, professional, and great at what she does, and fun to boot. All the things that you want in a leadership team member. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, Rose.
Thanks, Shelli. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. This is one of my most favorite things that I get to do. Just even having a podcast. I love bringing clients onto the show to essentially show you off. That's the whole point. I love bringing clients onto the podcast so that other people can see who you are and what you're doing and the impact that you're having in the world. I also like to show off just the caliber of women that I get to serve every day. Like, it just lights me up. So I want more people to learn about all of you and just everything that you're up to. So welcome to the podcast. I feel like this has been a long time coming. We've worked together for a while now. You were in the leadership lab, and now you've shifted over into one-to-one coaching. Although I knew about you beforehand, so I had been aware of you, and I'm sure that it was through Luann, maybe?
Yeah, or Vita.
Vita as well, that I had heard about you and started to follow you, and then thrilled to be able to connect and support you along the way. So tell our listeners, you're in the design business, and for most of us, this is just not our forte. We are not good at design, and we can watch HGTV and think we are, but we're not.
Yeah, it's not real life. Yeah.
Oh, it's not real life. So tell our listeners, how did you even get into this line of work?
First, thank you, Shelli, for having me on. I really have enjoyed working with you for the past year. And like you said, you've had such an amazing, talented group of women that you work with. So I've learned so much kind of along the way. My journey to own an interior design firm is a little unconventional, but I also think that that's become our competitive advantage in a lot of ways. But I started off in the residential home building industry. So I worked for a national home builder. I was in their construction project management program. So I was a project manager. So I started off 22 years old, right out of college, working as a field supervisor. So I was the only girl on the job site and really learned a ton, like a lot, for I don't know, maybe obvious, not so obvious reasons. I didn't know a lot about construction, but I really loved homes. I loved going to look at houses with my mother when we were growing up. Like, I've always loved that part of it. But I started in new home construction, working in the actual construction part of everything. And then as my career developed, I ended up in more office-related roles where I was in costing. So I learned how to build it. I learned how to cost for it. And then I ended up in sales, where I learned sales and design is really where I really fell in love with that portion of it, really guiding the customer through an experience that happens before construction starts. So from there, I ended up moving to work for a custom home builder where I managed their custom homes and renovations, where my concentration was in the selections management, so the finishes, the construction finishes for the home. And it was at that point when I realized that there was this untapped niche in our market where there were a lot of really great small and mid-sized builders. So not your nationals, but sort of this like more localized, small, mid-size that really didn't have design staff. They were lean for a purpose. Like, they wanted to be able to limit, and at this time too, I started right as like the recession of like the early 2000s started. So like the construction was lean. So they were hesitant. These builders are hesitant to overstaff, because they had experienced that in the past. So they really were running lean on their stuff, so they didn't have design personnel. So I really decided that that's what I wanted to run my bit. I wanted to be an extension, a partner. I wanted to be a partner of builders so that they can offer their clients a design experience, but not have to have in-house designers. So giving them the opportunity to kind of expand what their offerings were. So that's sort of how Domus Designs evolved. It started as a builder relationship design service, and then it has evolved over time to be this amazing machine that is now doing really beautiful new home, luxury new homes and high-end renovations, along with furnishings down to, your pillows and all the fun stuff. I like to say that our tagline is, we can help you through studs to styling at this point. So yeah, that's sort of our journey over the last 7 years.
I know that a lot of your business comes through referrals from your builders, and you've poured a lot into those relationships, and you've built a stellar reputation over the years, and it's definitely paid off for you, Rose. It's lovely. I mean, your portfolio, the work that you and the team does is just stunning. Everything you do is just stunning. I love it. Love everything that you're doing. So talk to us about how the team has evolved, because you started out as that only girl on the construction site, like literally wearing your steel-toed boots out there in the field, learning how the build process works. And you've worked your way into owning your own design firm now. So how did you go from being that partner, that extension of those builders and the brands that the builders were building, to having your own brand, a standalone brand, a favorite referral source, but also building out your own team?
So a lot of it happens because of demand for my services. When I opened my studio, I started the company with a studio because I also knew how important it was that we had a location for customers to go to that wasn't either at the builder's site or somewhere else where I could house some of the products myself. So when I opened my studio, I was by myself. And it's crazy now to think about this, but I literally only created a space for 2 offices in my first studio. Like, the idea of that, like, just means, like, it's wild that it didn't even occur to me, like, that I would need more space. But I had a office for myself, and I had 1 office available for an expansion for the team. I thought that's how I was going to run my business. It was going to be super boutique for the builders that would need that, and that's sort of where my mindset was. But it's wild that when you offer something that people want, how fast things come to you when you find this opportunity in a niche where you can truly help your customer. We started in 2018. It was steady time in our market. So every couple of months, I kept getting these new builder referrals where we would start to do these projects and develop these long-lasting relationships that I very quickly brought on one person. So I started with me. Within 6 months, I brought in a part-time person to help me. That turned into, within 3 months of that, turned into her becoming full-time. It was us 2 for probably about another year. And then that's when I realized that the person I had initially brought on was meant to be my assistant to help me so that I can continue meeting with clients and help with the back-end work, because that was a lot of what we were supporting for the builders as well. I was realizing that I had this really great opportunity to grow, and that when I grew, I needed to grow and hire somebody with experience, was somebody who had the same level of experience that I had in the field, that could offer that same level of customer experience and builder construction experience that I did. So my next hire was actually somebody who was an experienced designer. I hired someone knowing that immediately I could take it from like a capacity of like 1.5 to 2. So that we could offer the same service at the same level. And she's still with me today.
Nice.
Which is great. She's seen the company go through a lot. And then, COVID hit. That was a wild time for any business owner. One of the absolute silver linings of COVID was that everybody was home and they wanted to redo their homes. They wanted to stay at home. They were spending their money on their houses. So our industry boomed during that time. So at that time, I quickly hired several people within a 6-month period to keep up with demand. So that was around like 2020, 2021. During that time, similar to how I sort of established Domus as like the builder's construction partner, I was realizing that there was this opportunity for me through my trusted relationships that I was building with my clients to offer the services in furnishings as well as the construction. So it was in that same time period that I was also realizing that I was giving up a great opportunity to really see everything to all the way at the end. So in total, in like a holistic experience where when we're picking out lighting, I'm also saying how that relates to a table and chairs or your sofa and your coffee table, things like that. That offered a whole other opportunity to hire different staff where that's where their expertise was, instead of just the construction finishes, but to offer opportunity for expansion into team with furnishings. I did the same thing like I did in my second hire, where I hired someone with experience in furnishings to help me develop that department. So now I have a team of 8 with a couple more needed that are really operate as 2 really strong departments within my company. One where I can have staff that specializes in the construction finishes and the latest technologies and the latest opportunities for product. And then I have another group that can really do the same thing, but for furnishings. And we cross-train them so that we have opportunities to work on the whole life cycle of the project.
Because aren't you finding that's what your specific clients, that's what they want? They want all the help.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because they're invested in this home. And many of your clients, it's their second home or their vacation home. So they're building out a portfolio of properties, and they have a certain level of comfort and aesthetic that they want. So you get a lot of like repeat clients, right? So like you work with them on this home, now they're going to build a beach house. So you know, they're reaching out to you again. So it's that whole idea of your ideal client isn't afraid to ask for help. And they're very trusting of your knowledge and expertise, including the team's knowledge and expertise, because at the end of the day, they just want what they want, right? And if they don't have to think too hard for it, if you're presenting to them incredible options and you've gotten to know them so well that it's easy for them to make the selection, that makes the whole project so much more enjoyable for both you and the client and all the trades and the builders.
I really pride myself in, I have a lot of clients who are repeat clients. So they have trusted us either with a second home or a new home that they've moved up into, or even another room that maybe we didn't touch in the beginning and we come back. So it's really great to do that. And I think my team is excited when we get somebody who comes back, because that means we've done a good job. From a personal level, I practice what I preach in terms of like, you hire somebody who is the professional, who lived in it all day long. And sometimes doing my own job, I like doing interior design, I forget that, because I love it so much that I forget that, like, you know, I could spend hours flipping through like lighting magazines, or I could go through websites, or I can go through fabric. Like I could spend hours and get lost in it. I forget sometimes that, like, that's why people hire me, is because I love it so much, but they don't love it as much as I do. And that's why they have us, is to do that, so that we do the research, we do all of that sourcing for them so that they don't have to, and they can just enjoy it. They can do whatever they do best in their life, like in their day jobs and their activities and whatever, and we can handle the rest of it.
Yeah, for most people, those design decisions are just crushing. There's just too many choices. And they're so afraid they're going to make the wrong choice. And that's where you and the team can step in and guide them in the right way. So, and you're right, the whole, you know, when a client comes back to you, it's such validation. It is instant gratification, but also instant validation that they appreciate and respect your work. And that's why they're coming back. So that's wonderful to hear. So as the team has now grown, so you started with you and one other person. Now you have 8 people, and you've introduced 2 profit centers. So you call them departments. I would call them profit centers. And you've got people who are leading those profit centers and helping you make the decisions, not only with the strategy of how to run and make those profit centers essentially profitable, but they're also having a lot of input into how do we build out the skills and expertise that we need to make sure that this is going to be a long-standing entity for the firm as we continue to grow. So you've done a lot in thoughtfully selecting people for these roles. And I know that you really do pour into them as individuals. You want them to succeed, and you're always interested in what can we do to make your job easier? What's frustrating for you? What are you tolerating? What upgrades do we need? Systems, all the things. So when you're thinking about building your team, are there a couple of like particular behaviors that you're always looking for? Is there some sort of keywords that you're always listening to when you're in an interview? Are there some red flags that really, set your hair on fire? because you have done a lot of hiring. You have 8 people right now, but you've also had some team turnover in terms of people moving on. Various people, they come in, they move around. What have you learned along the way about your style for hiring and how you're really stacking your team up to be that incredible agile team that the firm needs?
There was a lot of trial and error, I feel like, in the beginning, but I definitely feel like right now, and for the last several years, I feel like I've honed in on exactly what I'm looking for. It sounds, I don't know if basic's the right word, but I really start off with making sure that in initial conversations with me, it comes down to, do I feel like these individuals embody the values that I have set forth for Domus? We live by 5 pillars, which are beauty, obviously, teamwork, integrity, achievement, and advocacy. So I ask interview questions that I feel like I can gather whether or not they will embody this kind of in their own behavior. And I think that comes out in a couple different ways. It's not always the loudest person in the room, or it's the flashiest portfolio, but it's somebody who, advocacy is actually the biggest one for me, because I think a lot of what I started was to make sure that my clients, whether they be builders or the end user, the clients, the homeowners, really are heard through the process through either our designs, through the construction. So I want to make sure that there's that sense of service, maybe, is like in their kind of responses and in their hobbies, things like that, where it makes it so that you're not, listen, the interior design business can be very glamorous. The days of the reveal and all that stuff is great, but there's a lot of stuff behind that happen that nobody sees, that they have to want to do too. So I definitely look for that. In my way of looking at that, it's sort of, in another way, saying fit in terms of like the culture within the team. I actually have a document that I know you've reviewed and approved of, the how to be a successful team member at Domus Designs.
Yeah, I love that.
And I hand that to everybody on their first day, and it's things like, do as you say, and be the person that people can rely on. Act as if this was your own home, things like that, where it's just, I think that's character. That's not, you can learn a lot of stuff. You can learn Revit, you can learn CAD, you can learn Sketch, you can learn all the things. But like, there's those fundamentals that I feel like I really interview around for people. The other parts of it that are maybe industry specific, and my industry specific, is I really look for somebody who's displaying like a sense of urgency in the work that they do. So not something hurried and sloppy, but just this sense of understanding that there are other people that are waiting for us, and that need the information for us in order to perform their jobs. So to understand that it's important for us to act every day with intention to move something forward.
You definitely have been in this game for a significant amount of time now, and you've begun to understand who it is that you want to attract to come and join your team, who would be a long-term fit. You've created these business assets to really help with people's success. So that how to be successful at Domus Designs, that whole, it's almost like a map for here's how to build character, or here's how to continue to build upon your existing character to be successful here at the studio. And then just putting so much thought into making sure that people are not bottlenecks, that they really do have customer service as part of their DNA. And that customer service works both within the team as well with clients, right? Like, you really want those people to be of service to people around them. But what are you learning in terms of what's happening out there in the world of design? Like, new people that are wanting a career in design. Are there anything that you're seeing that have been red flags for you, or you're having is questionable, so you have to dive a little deeper into that? What are you seeing to make sure that you are really confident in who you're making a job offer to?
There are a few things very specific to interior design. I'm sure it can apply to other industries as well, but portfolios are definitely part of our hiring process. So when we hire an interior designer, whether it is for something concentrated in construction finish or furnishings, we do review portfolios. Portfolios are tricky though, because you are in oftentimes a collaborative atmosphere. in whatever position prior. So whether it's in school or if it's at a different firm where there might be a principal with a assistant, or it might be a principal, a lead, and assistant. So it typically tends to be where there's a lot of hands in the pot in a design. It's like that in my firm. So my firm, if you look at a beautiful picture, it's not just me. Like I do have other people who work on those projects. Sometimes it's digging deep into the portfolio and asking the questions like, what was your involvement in this particular picture? Because at a glance, it could seem like it's all theirs. But at the end of the day, depending, like if I'm hiring for a junior designer, my expectation is that it's not theirs, that there was a supportive aspect of their position. But if I'm hiring for a lead designer, I want to see how they have directed others to do the work that kind of ultimately created the photos that are in there. So there's a lot of digging around the portfolio to make sure that you're not just assuming that all the things happened in the way that we would want it to happen in our own firm. So there's quite a lot that's around that I really need to look out for, because it would be a major red flag for me if I'm hiring for a junior designer, and if I ask the question, is this all yours? And they said yes. Like that would be a major red flag, because to me, that would mean they're not giving credit to where credit is due, and they're not recognizing the importance of that particular role also in the greater scheme of the designs too.
Yeah. I love how you're distinguishing that. So a newer designer needs to own the fact that they're learning, and you want to hear from them how much they appreciated learning from other more senior, more qualified, more experienced designers, whether it was in school or whether they did an internship or whether they were working in another firm looking to move on. The other part of it I really love is when you're hiring for a lead designer, more senior designer, you're listening to hear, can they delegate? Can they coach other designers? Do they realize the importance of workflows and SOPs and processes? And can they identify where the constraints are so that we're not, it's not impacting schedule or it's not impacting cost? So yeah, you have to have, there's definitely things that we need to broaden ourselves when we get really good at building a team through interviewing, that we're not just looking, asking the same standard interview questions. You really have to dive into it. And I think that's the difference between corporate and small business, right? Small business is so darn personal, and you don't have an HR department and you don't have a training department. You need to really take it seriously as to looking to find the right next person to come and join my team, and then really doing your homework to make sure that this person really is a fit. So asking those additional questions to get the real facts out of the story, it's so valuable, so valuable. So, everyone that's listening here, don't, listen to Rose. She's telling you, don't just skip over the normal everyday interviews. And when someone's presenting their work to you, regardless of the field you're in, really, if someone's providing you an example of their work, don't just take it at face value. Ask deeper questions about what was their thought process. Did they find any issues along the way? How did they solve the problem? Did they get any help somewhere? And where did they get the help? All of that really does matter for sure.
Again, this is specific for interior design, but in the portfolio, when they're making decisions, a lot of times we will see mood boards and the end product. So I ask other questions just to see how they think on their feet also. So I'm like, okay, if I took this project today, if I gave you the same parameters, but I told you that money was no object, what would you change? Then I look for some key things like, do they know those luxury products to level up to? Do they know the customization that is at their disposal when there is a little bit bigger of a budget? Can they think outside the box of that? So that has been really helpful, because I have had people get stumped because they are used to no fault of their own, but they're used to the box. These are the products that I know because this is my buyer that I work with, or this is the client that I'm typically work with. So they don't have exposure to that. So that would be more of a question that I would ask a lead than I would maybe ask a junior designer. But stuff like that, I think, tells a lot about even just their reaction to a question like that, is to me a little bit telling them, because we have to think on our feet all day.
You do. And the whole idea of luxury design, full service design that you're offering, it's heavy on the luxury. So if you have someone on your team that, as you said, has not had exposure to that type of client, it doesn't mean that you can't build a bridge to get them there so that they do have a wider view and a broader breadth of what's available to a client. But you want to see their enthusiasm for that as well, right? Especially if they've been conditioned to serve those economy clients. And you're saying, no, this is the client that we serve here. So tell me, if money was no object, what would you have done to improve this particular mood board or space design even, or the finishes that you've selected? And yeah, you want to see them light up like a Christmas tree and realize, oh, now we could really have some fun here with this.
Yeah. And it's a balance of both, because it doesn't matter how much wealth some of our clients have. Everybody has a budget. It is important to kind of recognize both sides of it, like dream for them, because that's why they've hired us to do that. But at the same time, be respectful of the boundaries around the budget. So there's a bit of a balance, but I think you're exactly right. The excitement about it is what we love about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want them to just light up for those opportunities. Yeah. So over the 7 years that you've had the firm, a lot has changed for you personally as well, Rose. I mean, you're getting married here shortly.
Yep.
You're going on a honeymoon.
Yeah, almost 2 months. Yeah.
Like a lot has happened for you personally, as well as a lot of has happened to you in terms of your own like professional development and what you're now able to offer your team and your industry, because you've grown so much from that, the first day that you put on a pair of steel toe boots and hit a construction site to the first day that you opened up your first design studio. So what are some of the things that you're proud of yourself for really stepping it up and evolving?
It's funny. I was riding around the main line, which is where most of our clients live. I was riding around with an intern earlier this week, and we were in like a 5-mile radius. I was driving around to show her some of the jobs, and I was able to kind of point at every couple of blocks of houses that we had some design contribution towards. Some were huge renovations, new builds. There would be a great room that we just furnished, but it was this legacy of being able to visualize the work that we've done and the families that we've affected and the place in like the landscape in the area. Just really, I felt very proud of that moment to be able to kind of do that and realizing that, I just did that in a 5-mile radius. But if I grew that radius a little bit more of what I could see, I this is why I love what I do, because I can see the end product of what we've been working on. But I've learned a lot. Like I've learned that I need to trust my instincts. I tend to lead with, my heart and my brain. I have been in situations where I have been hurt or betrayed in life and in work, where it just has these all. And there'd be a moment where I could be like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. It's really easy for me to close off and say like, well, I'm not going to do this team event and I'm not going to do these things because like it's like, what do I get out of it? Like those sour moments that you have when something happens. But I choose to really, when I step back and I really think about it, to me, I'm really proud of the fact that I enjoy giving to my team. I enjoy giving to my clients. That's part of who I am. I like our team building things that we do, whether it's like, doing flower arrangements or, going to play or learning in a lunch and learn. Like I like giving that stuff to the team. So while I started with this idea that it would just be like me and one other person, the idea of having a team I have truly embraced, because I really love that mentorship part of it. And I really love developing a community of women that really respect each other and who enjoy each other. I mean, we spend so much time at work, but in work and in life. So I've embraced leadership in that way so that I can continue wanting, like as we grow, wanting to add to people too.
Yeah, you're offering really great career opportunities for people. Mm-hmm. No joke, Rose. You pay your team members really, really well. And on top of that, you have a whole bonus program. You also do a lot with rewards and recognition, like beyond money. You do a lot with rewards and recognition. And you're also giving them one of the best gifts any work team could ever have, which is a beautiful place to work in. You're offering them a brand new 5,000 square foot studio to be a part of. And that is just remarkable, Rose. Remarkable.
Yeah, I keep having to remind myself that that's what we're kind of heading to do. But yeah, we're in the middle of an expansion. We're more than doubling the size of our studio. We're in the midst of it. Hopefully by the end of this year, it'll open in its full capacity. But yeah, and I'm really excited. I feel like everybody is in studio now. So because I think in general, everybody's inherently enjoying the collaborative nature of our design, just to be able to grab somebody and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? So, and I love the idea of giving a location for that where we can house these beautiful things so that we can jump right into the design. So it's less about the hunt and more about like curating, like from what we know is already beautiful. Of course, we go out and find beautiful pieces specific to a client, but there's some value in kind of housing some of that stuff in our studio. And I've always said to my team too, that the idea that we have processes with SOPs, processes, workflows, these like repetitive things that we do on every day, the idea that we have defined that allows us to be really creative, because we spend maybe 30% of the time in the weeds of all that process, but then 70% of the time being creative. That is what a designer wants. You don't want to spend the majority of your time in the weeds trying to figure out, wait, what was I supposed to do to order this again? How was I supposed to like put this in inventory? Or, what was this hardware schedule that I was supposed to do? Like all those things are defined now, so that really like everybody's on this team, and anybody new who joins our team really benefits from all of that time that we've spent to kind of perfect that part of it, so that we can free our minds of that noise.
Yeah, you've spent a lot of time putting in the proper structure. So there's the whole back office processes that you put in place. But you've also spent a lot of time, Rose, building out a leadership team, leaning into 5-hour work plans. You're going to be kicking off career pathing. You've leaned into the drum beats. You're really looking at skill stacking. Like you're looking at what are all the things I can do to build a robust team here that is set up for the future. And people feel the difference, Rose. They definitely feel the difference between being a team member at Domus versus any other work experience that they've ever had. And that's really going to help you retain these incredible people that you have on the team, and also give you a lot of calm and confidence that you're going to be able to still have the headspace to do what you love to do. And as you said, you want everyone on the team to be able to really have time and energy to lean into the creative work, because the rest of the work is so well defined.
I think in the interior design industry, I think there's a statistics that most people stay at the same place between 3 to 5 years. So I've definitely experienced that myself, which is why we're sort of leaning into that career pathing, because I really truly want this to feel like a place where somebody can start at a junior level and see the potential to be a lead designer and really own projects that are real signature projects that people spend a lot of time in their career trying to get, where we offer that kind of in a everyday environment in our team. So I really invest a lot of my own personal energy, but also, work dollars and all the things to make sure that everybody kind of sees that opportunity to kind of own a part of the process of what we're building.
Yeah, for sure. People are coming to join you not simply for a job. They're coming to develop a career with you. And that's what you're learning how to offer them. And so that is greatly going to impact how long they stay with you, and just the whole, happiness factor, not just amongst your team, but how you're feeling about your team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any like words of encouragement or advice to that young designer who is just starting out, who looks up to high-end designers like you are, and they could be thinking, oh, wow, I would love to be able to build my firm into something similar to Domus. but they may be thinking, I'm not ready for this. I'm overwhelmed by it. I don't even know where to start. Any words of encouragement or advice for them?
I think it's really important for young designers to be learners. I think it's really important to know that there are things that you can learn in a textbook that a lot of really great design schools teach, but there's so much in real life that happens that you really can't teach that until you are in certain situations yourself. So I do think it's important that whatever role they're taking, whether it's a junior associate, whatever kind of role that they're doing in a design, it's really to soak it in, like really pay attention to even how a principal speaks to a client about a certain situation, or talks to a contractor about something, or talks to a builder. Those type of conversations, I think I learned the most in my career just by listening to everybody and absorbing. So I think it's important for somebody who might not have the years of work experience, but to be that attitude of like, I want to learn. I know I need to learn. I think that's really, really important. I also think I was very fortunate very early in my career to have really great mentors. I had them in different avenues. So when I was in the National Home Builder, it was my manager. When I was in the residential construction, it was the partner that I was working with. There was always somebody that I felt like I can learn from, I can work with. I just feel like that is, again, it's another opportunity to learn just from somebody else's perspective that you, who has more years of experience in that. I also think it's putting in the time to learn the stuff that's not sexy.
Yeah, the basics, the core skills for sure.
Yeah.
I love how you're encouraging them to be a continual learner, keep your eyes open and your ears open and your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
And observe, because we can learn a lot by just observing others for sure. So I love that advice. So on the flip side, what kind of encouragement or advice would you give someone like yourself? So someone who owns an established design firm that's continuing to evolve, it's just continuing to be on fire. What would you have them consider at this stage of their development?
I think developing out really solid team leaders is absolutely something that I have learned that I needed to do probably before I started doing it, because an entrepreneur's superpower is to sell their vision, sell their services. When we get stuck in the weeds of too much of the inside of the business, we lose that spark to sell ourselves and to expand the business and really try to expand our services. We lose that excitement when we're bogged down with some of the other components of it that are important, but that when you have people that you trust who can do that work for you, it really just lightens your load to be able to confidently go out to a networking event or go to a client's home to present your ideas in such a different level of confidence when you know that other portions of your business are taken care of. So I've also learned to delegate, also trust that my hiring process have given way to really great employees that I can trust to handle the work without micromanagement.
Yeah, I've worked with a couple of designers in the past who've run into the problem of they're reluctant to go out and get new business because they don't believe that they have the right team to be able to deliver on the expectation. And that is a terrible place to be when you have demand for your services and your products. And in your heart of heart, you're avoiding the client, or you're avoiding being seen in public, or you're avoiding going to that conference, or you're avoiding going to that invitation of a new builder because you literally can't take on more work because you don't have the right team in place to be able to execute on the work. That is one of the worst realities of anyone in business. So I think your advice is right on. Build out those team leaders early, make some quality hiring, and don't be afraid to ask more of people, which frees up your work plan to really be able to nurture the people that you have on your team, but also get out there and really do the business development for sure. Well, tell our listeners, how can people stay connected to you, Rose?
I think the best way for people to reach out to us would be Instagram. Our handle is Domus. That's where you'll see our stories of what we do every day, our photos of the great projects that we work on. That's probably the best way to get the real-time action.
It is lovely the way you capture the work that you're doing. And I also love the way you show the team off as well. It's always great to see team members in action. And your Instagram account is definitely one of my favorites to follow.
Oh, thanks.
Well, thanks for coming and sharing your insight with us today, Rose. It's been lovely to have you. And I know that everything you share with us today is really going to help inspire and also, do a bit of a reality check for both those new designers who have aspirations of having a large firm like yourself, as well as your peers, those people that have a very similar size design firm and team size as you do. It's also nice for them to get some validation and some encouragement too.
It was great. Thank you so much for having me on.
From the minute I first spoke to Rose, it was clear to me that she cared deeply about helping her team grow, not just in the work they produce, but in how they think, make decisions, and take ownership. She stepped into her role as leader in a big way, embracing the tools she's learned here at Stacking Your Team and shared the Team Leader program with her team leaders so they can evolve too. I loved how Rose advised young designers to be lifelong learners, emphasizing the importance of observing and absorbing knowledge from experienced professionals and mentors. This is so important because there's so much to learn. I also loved her encouragement for established designers to focus on developing strong team leaders for your firm because it's key. She knows this because she's lived it. And as her coach, I can attest to her commitment to building an agile, trustworthy team who are talented and who are also keen to lean all the way in to the structure of how the business runs to maintain its future for everyone. I highly recommend that you follow her on Instagram or LinkedIn. Her links are in the show notes. Thanks for tuning into the Stacking Your Team podcast, Smart Leadership for Women Who Mean Business. If today's episode helped you see your leadership in a whole new way, I'd love to hear about it. Connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at Stacking Your Team, and tell me what's troubling you about your team right now. And here's one last reminder that you can apply to join the Leadership Lab from the Stacking Your Team website. We're welcoming new members right now. So if you own a firm, agency, studio, clinic, spa, shop, private practice, a center, an academy, or collective, either brick and mortar or an online service-based business, you're invited to join the Leadership Lab. Every member owns an established business, and this is not a course. It's time to get out of the daily operations, breathe deeper, and build a team you trust who are capable of delivering what your clients expect. I can't wait to meet you.